This is not just a show. This is a shift. A reset of how men think, how men heal, and how men lead. Before behavior, there is belief. Before legacy, there is mindset. And before change reaches generations, it must first reach the mind. This is bridging generation. Yeah. We were raised on survival, not reflection. Taught strength, but not emotional protection. Passed down rules, never passed down tools. So we repeated cycles, thinking pain was the fuel. Different decades, same inner wars. Men grinding hard, but still unsure. We inherited limits, disguised as truth, and called them manhood, handed down to the youth. But growth don't start with doing more. It starts with thinking different than before. What if failure was feedback, not shame? What if growth was learned, not fate or name? We don't stay fixed in who we've been. We expand our mind and life begins. Belief is the seed, mindset the soil. Growth is the reward of intentional toil. This is bridging generations, voices of men, where the mind gets renewed and healing begins. We don't pass down fear, we pass down plans. Blueprints for growth, hand to hand. From presence to purpose, from pain to design. We build better futures with a growth mindset. They told us that's just how men are, but we questioned the ceiling, raised the bar. We learned growth is a discipline, not a phase. A daily decision in how we're raised. Old men teaching lessons from scars. They survive, young men bringing vision, asking why different perspectives, same destination. Healing the man heals the generation. The growth mindset blueprint gave language to pain. Turned I can into I can learn again. No longer stuck in past definitions. We design men with intention. Growth is intentional. Mindset is foundational. Healing is learned. Legacy is built. Presence over pride, process over ego, blueprints, not excuses. This is how men grow. This is bridging generations, no fixed identity. We evolve, adapt, grow intentionally. We don't repeat cycles, we redesign systems. From the mind to the home, to the way that we lead them. The same motivation, it's transformation. Voices aligned through growth across generations. Growth is not accidental. Mindset is the real inheritance. And when men grow, families heal, communities rise, generations change.
Good evening, and welcome to Bridging Generations, Voices of Men, and let me say, in a changing world. I am Dr. Laxley. I'm one of your hosts.
I'm Dr. Juan Marcel, your other host of this great show with this awesome platform to discuss real issues, real and raw issues. So, Doc, tell us what's new, what's going on.
So, Dr. Juan, what a busy, awesome, great week. And before the show, we're talking about our business. But I must say, often men are busy, but not productive. Yes. And that is not our case, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's not. I don't even think we're allowed or can afford to not be productive. There's so much going on.
And talking about the generation coming, right? New generation, the future. We had a meeting last night. You're on the meeting. I was on the meeting. GHN Beyond the Backpack Program, that initiative where great things are going to come from that. We're building capacity. We're building bridges. We're just here to empower students. And we're going to launch this program in August. And it's going to start out in Jamaica, in 4 schools in Jamaica, right? 4 parishes, I should say, where we're going to take on 10 students, and we're going to walk with these students for 3 years. And it's literally what it says beyond the backpack. We will be doing more than what is in a backpack. So whether it's transportation, whether it's nutrition, whether it's clothing, mentoring, all of that good stuff. And I know you know something about mentoring.
Yes, sir. I'm a product of it, a provider of it. I swear by it.
Mm-hmm. Man says he swear by it. And what about Kenya, man? I was just looking at the itinerary and my flight itinerary, and I shared one with you from one of our other members. What's going on with Kenya?
Yes. Man, first of all, it's only a few days away. I mean, I know it says like a little over a month, but the way time is going, we're just a few days away from this movement, right? And you touched on this even with the Beyond the Backpack initiative. Leaving an impressionable, a lasting impression, by influence and impact. I think that's what it's all about. The song that, if you listen to the song when the show is coming on, this is to our listeners. One of the catchy things, it says that the real legacy is mindset. It's living a mindset. And I think that's part of, even to go and talk about this Kenya trip, is showing, I think we're bridging gaps, right? But bringing hope. And I think by showing people that there is hope, there are people who care, there are resources available. And I think by being that hope, that bridge to hope, and resources is what it's all about. I'm excited about that.
Very excited. And just before we got started, I was saying to you that we need to start something bigger than this and everything else. And guess what? It just occurred to me that program should also be called Bridging Generation, Voices of Men.
Yeah. I think the work is in the title.
The work is in the title, brother. Yeah. So I think we have our name.
Yeah.
Bridging Generation, Voices of Men. And we're going to take this on the road.
I love that.
We're going to take it on the road.
I actually thought about that before when I was thinking about this trip to Kenya and just all the traveling that we were discussing, to the various places. It would be so good to have a setup at some point in these various places and just jumping on a mic and say, hey, Bridge of Generations, Voices of Men from whatever edition or wherever location that is. That would be so great.
And it will happen. There'll be major panel discussions, all kinds of stuff. And I want to remind you of something, how this show came about. I did a talk on Daily Insights, and I was talking about something like Bridging Generations, and you said that needs to be a podcast, or something to that effect. Do you recall?
Yeah, yes, I do. I think about it all the time. I was enlightened and even in the same time intrigued, and just from listening to the recording, I was like, yeah, this definitely needs to be an ongoing conversation.
And here we are, right?
Yeah.
Ongoing conversation. But tonight, Dr. Juan, we are going to talk about something that many men experience, but few openly acknowledge. We're talking about the mask. And it's not a physical one, right? But the one men wear every single day. The mask of strength, the mask of confidence, the mask of stability. And why is that so? Somewhere along the way, many of us learned that we must be strong, that we must be steady, that we must remain unshaken. And while those expectations may build discipline, and they do, they can also create distance from emotion, from honesty, distance from your own self. So too many men are showing up. Yes, they're providers, they lead, they perform. But guess what? Internally, many of them are carrying pressure that is never expressed. Never expressed, right? So, Dr. Juan, the question is not whether men are strong. The true question, the real question is at what cost are they maintaining that strength? And I'll tell you this, when a man can maintain an image for the world and still feel disconnected within himself is a problem. So tonight is not about removing responsibility. It is about restoring alignment. Let's talk about it. What do you have to say?
You know, I was thinking, you talked about the masks that men wear, and I wanted to open up with this. I want to just share what a mask can represent or symbolize for men. Protection, performance, concealment, even expectation and pressure, control, survival mechanism, or even an identity conflict. And I love that, you know, that we're having this, because this is a real conversation, because many men have learned how to function but not how to process. And I think there's a difference. They know how to show up, but not always how to be honest. And over time, the problem becomes performance, because then performance becomes survival. And we talked about that. You know, you learn how to smile when you're tired. We lead when we're uncertain. We carry when we're overwhelmed. But what is not addressed internally eventually shows up externally. So tonight, we're not strength. Doc, with this conversation you and I are having, and our listeners, we're not challenging strength, we're redefining it.
So again, this is Bridging Generation, Voices of Men. And we're talking about the mask tonight.
Yeah.
Dr. Juan, it's all about the mask. Or maybe unmasking. We gotta take that
mask off.
So, Dr. Juan, you said so many important things, right? So many important things. And you painted a picture there about how we learn to function, essentially, but not always how to process things. And when a man is functioning without processing, too often he presents a version of himself shaped by expectation and not truth. So let us begin at the root of it all, Dr. Juan. At what point does a man shift from living authentically to performing for acceptance, respect, or survival?
Whew, that's a loaded question, Doc. I think it begins in adolescence. You know, I think in our formative years and even on into adolescence, I think it begins there. And we talked about this before with the shortage of mentorship and sometimes just the absent fathers or just absence covering, be it mother or father. I think that what happens then, if it begins in adolescence, then it's reinforced by culture and then expectations. And I think we learned that things are okay, or these masks are good, because we're then rewarded for this image that we've created or we've been carrying around. And so it's not authenticity as much as it is in bearing an image. And we're often rewarded for that, because what people only see the outside. And so I think survival in that way becomes performance. So something we touched on last episode when we talked about the survival mode, where we learn performance through survival. I think that's where it begins.
Wow, very early.
Very early. Yeah. I think we learned it as little boys.
You know, what we see is so important. What we observe is so important. Yep. And I think that you're talking about it, because we look at how people respond to other people.
Yes.
Look at that. And that somehow shape how we behave, because we want the same type of response as those who are getting what we believe are important, important responses and are being received well. So whatever we need to do, whether it's to project a sense of confidence or to perform a show of strength, even though it doesn't exist, we do that. And you said it loud and clear. It is reinforced in our culture, that behavior. It is reinforced in our culture. So we find that we are, because we we experience and observe that men are rewarded, or people are rewarded for outcomes, it's not about alignment. So performance really and truly becomes our identity. It's all about performing. It's all about performing.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
hit it on the head. You nail it. $1 cent, it's you nail it. Yeah. Yeah.
Whew. That's and I think if I could add this, that when we talk about performance and just things that we learn, there's so much to that, right? And just real quickly, I thought about societal constructs or cultural norms. We've had this conversation some time ago, and you were sharing how it is in other cultures, in other countries, when it comes to men, and there's no crying, there's no showing defeat or shame or sadness in front of your woman, your wife, your family. It's just unacceptable. So I think through cultural norms as well, we're taught how to perform.
Yeah, absolutely. But one of the danger with all of this is when it's about acceptance. So when you're talking about culture, we're talking about acceptance there, right?
Right.
And when it's about acceptance, and when that is the goal, our performance, because we're performing to be accepted, replaces who we are, our true identity. And the problem with that is that when a man starts to lead in from a version of himself that is not fully real, then that's a major problem.
Yeah.
You're living a lie. So I have some questions I want to pose for our listeners, and here they are. Are you living from who you are or who you feel you must be? What version of yourself are you presenting that may not be real? When did you start performing instead of simply being? Those are questions I want those who are watching us to think about.
When did you start performing instead of just simply being?
Yeah.
If I could add to that, you asked that question even to our listeners, and something to think about. So many things come to mind when I think about just my life and my childhood. For me, it started in the house. I learned, when I say house, I mean, environment, family. I started learning, what do we talk about? Performative masculinity. I started performing when I was young. I can remember the earliest memory being in kindergarten, first grade, second grade.
Because you're practicing becoming a man. That's what men do. That's what we do.
I want to be tough. I want to be seen tough and strong.
I was in the park with my grandson today, and they're a bunch of 7 years old, and he's performing for the girls. It was so obvious. Being a man. and then he tried to climb one of these things, and he was making a mess of it. And one of the young girls his age group came and said, "I can teach you." He didn't want to have anything to do with that.
Wow. Yeah.
It turned out that they all go to the same school, and they're on break. So that was just an example of him at his 7 years old, his tender age, he's being a man.
Yeah.
Teach him nothing.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah, at least those girls are not going to teach him anything. Anyway, we got to keep it moving.
Right.
I know you have a question.
Well, so this I thought about just as this conversation is flowing. I wonder, why do so many men feel they must always appear strong, even when they are struggling internally?
Yeah, that is a really serious question, because I've lived that question. I've experienced struggle, but I also know that if I own it, it's a problem. It's one thing to be struggling, but it's another thing to say I am and to admit that I am.
Yeah.
Even when it's wrecking my life. And I think there's such a thing as we fear. We just the fear this, we fear that. There's a if I'm struggling and I own it and I show it, I'm losing respect because it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm showing that there's a crack in the wall, my manhood, I'm losing authority.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for a lot of us, we don't have a safe place to process this. We don't. We have not built and create. We don't even understand what a safe place is. So what do? We go back. Our way of processing it again is to perform. It's performative. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what we do. That's what we do. So, there is such a thing as resilience. And you remember we had the program we work, Becoming Iron, and we talk about the resilient man. Resilience.
The brave man. Yep.
Yeah, we often define resilience, strength as silent, right? Instead of stability, So we're working to hold it together. We're not talking about it and so forth, which is a problem. So I think myself is we're afraid to lose our manhood, our authority, and because of that, we quiet it down.
Yeah.
And
Doc, you touched on something when you talked about not having a safe space or not even knowing what this space is, and then being able to define what we're going through. I heard one time someone say that oftentimes people are accepting of your Superman, but don't know how to handle your Clark Kent. And that blew my mind. It was so simple yet so profound. Like, we all love Superman because he's a symbol of strength and power, right? But then when he's just a simple man with a sweater on and some glasses, who's seemingly weak, and he's just reading and working, a photographer and working on a newspaper, I believe, that's not accepting. He's not a symbol of strength because he's just a simple man. Doesn't look strong to me. So I struggle with the Clark Kent, but Superman, I accept it without even question.
I remember you telling a Superman story.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you telling it in an interview I did with you a few years ago, right? Do you recall what that story? Do you recall what
I do. It's I'm a DC comic and Marvel just fanatic. I love sci-fi and Marvels and everything. And I actually shared this story with a lot of my students and mentees. But long short of it, Superman 2, in the late 80s, early 90s with Christopher Reeves. And the story pretty much real quickly is Superman at this point is tired of not being able to live a normal life. Mm-hmm. And so he wants to get rid of this exposure, this power, this strength. Because number one, he can't love the person he wants to love because it may cost her life. Mm-hmm. So he can't be normal like everybody else. So he just gives up the power and decides to live a normal life, just out of the limelight, out from under everybody's radar. And when everybody asking for help, and while he's doing that, he's traded in his birthright, his calling, right? His assignment, and he's watching all of these people in cities and stuff like that die and go into captivity and devastation, and he's struggling inwardly. Like, I don't want to do it. I want to just be normal. I want to be me. I want to be accepted as myself, but I've been given this great responsibility. And the more he went on, he realized I can no longer ignore this responsibility. Mm-hmm. And so he goes back, but after watching people get hurt and just all of those things, he ends up putting the cape back on, if you will, but for a long time, he didn't want it. I just want to be normal. I don't want to be responsible for others.
What strength he had to display to make that decision that I want to be a normal man. I don't want to be Superman. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
I just thought about the cost, like what we're talking about tonight, and how that mask can come. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, we were talking about taking the mask off. Sometimes it costs us to do that. and the cost may make us afraid or fearful. So we decide to keep it on so we can continue to hide
Absolutely.
or feel
Absolutely.
secure.
And maybe that's the safe place, right?
Yeah.
Wearing the mask. Maybe that's a safe place. So, more questions for our audience. What are you afraid would happen if people saw you struggle? Have you confused silence with strength? And where are you holding it together but not healing? And we're going to talk about healing in another show.
That's good. That's good.
So, Dr. Juan, when image becomes priority, identity is gone right out the door, right through the door out the window, right? So, what is the difference between who a man truly is and the image he presents to the world? What is the difference?
Wow. You know, yeah, I think the difference between who a man truly is and the image he presents is the difference between truth and performance. I think, image is what people see, right? So then it's created, it's curated, it's managed, sometimes protected. I think image is shaped by expectations and pressure and even survival. Whereas identity is who a man truly is. Identity is more internal, rooted, formed in truth. And so I think image is more external perception, whereas identity is internal truth. And I think that's the part that people miss the most. This is what I believe, that a man can maintain an image without ever developing his identity. And I think what you presented, even with the question, it shows that you can get so captivated by this image that you never even tap into who you truly are. And I think that's where the tension begins. I think there's a misalignment between image and identity that leads to just exhaustion. I really think that
exhaustion is the word. But let me add to what you're saying, because it is possible that you can have alignment between your image and your identity. And that is that man who is walking in his purpose, who is living his purpose. So to say image is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a bad thing when there is no alignment between identity and image. That's where lies the problem, right? And what you have described is that man who is wearing that mask, that there's no alignment between image and identity. But I believe that the perfect situation, if there's such a thing, is to live. If you're living in your skin, you're living your story, you're walking in your purpose, then there's alignment with that image. So what I see, who I see, is the real deal. Is the real deal. So just wanted to make that distinction. That distinction, I think, very important. Your thoughts?
No, I agree. I think the biggest thing that to your point is the alignment. I think image absolutely matters, but I think of not being aligned with identity does pose a problem, does cause tension. I think it causes internal conflict when there is misalignment. Because I think when you're not aware and in tune, I think you start to struggle trying to pick one over the other when you don't necessarily have to. And I think that's the internal conflict that a lot of men experience when they don't realize how significant alignment is.
And when that internal conflict is dominant in your life, can you be effective? Can you lead effectively in your home? Can you lead effectively in your community, at work?
I don't believe so. I don't believe. I think that internal conflict causes so much tension within, and I think that it becomes, it manifests itself into character traits. So I think there are ways and behaviors that we start to practice because of misalignment and the tension due to it, that becomes character traits that we start to think that it's just me, and that's a trait that was developed because you're out of line, you're misaligned with your true identity. So who you are right now isn't your true self. And I think in that I'll say it this way: the image is who I can show you, but identity is who I can't escape.
Yeah.
So
And
no matter what I show you, I can't get away from who I truly am, and you'll see that conflict at some point.
and I'm so glad who I can't escape, who I am.
Yeah.
Then the question that, in terms of listener reflection, is who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when no one is watching? And we talk about you can't escape, right? That is that person. And then the other question, does your image reflect your reality? Maybe I should ask one more, right?
Yeah.
Are you living from the truth or perception? I want you to comment on those questions. Talk to our audience. Talk to them relative to those questions.
I would say this, that Michael Jackson has a popular song. It's called "Man in the Mirror," and when you listen to those lyrics, he talks about how change doesn't start, change didn't happen until he spoke to the one in the mirror, which was himself. And I liken this, what Doc said, to that very concept, that nothing changes until something changes. And I think the biggest thing, and it's not easy, I'm speaking this personal experience, like standing in front of a mirror and having to accept the truth. But you talked about reality and perception. It's easy to get so drunk and intoxicated with perception until you start to sober up. And I think the quickest thing to make you sober up is the truth. When you look in that mirror, like, wait a minute. You ask the question, like, who am I? Who have I become? How do others see me? What have I been putting on? And I think those are the questions that really matter, because you want people to see the image of who you see when you're alone, not this image you put on, because who are they connecting to? And if you don't know truth, the thing about it is that you won't know even what to. We talked about reflection, that what you see, what you do, and what you keep on, because it could be the very thing you're doing in private. That's the part people see. That's what people connect to. And if that's true self, then you should be aligned with true self. And if it's not, you're the first person that has to catch on to that and do something about it.
It's all an illusion, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's an illusion. It's an illusion.
But you can't hide from it.
Yeah. That thing that you have created, who you can't afford to confront in the mirror, yourself. Yeah.
And it's not easy.
No one said it was, and it will never be. But guess what? We must bring awareness to it.
Yeah.
And we must continue to talk about it. Because you know what I am experiencing from these conversations? I am learning about myself. Each time each question we address, each show, I am learning so much about myself from these conversations. So I am encouraging our listeners to not just listen, but listen actively. And while you're watching these shows, take some notes, write down some, write, so you can go back to it. And ask yourself, look in the mirror and ask yourself some questions. Yeah. All right, we got to keep it moving, right? Because when image and identity separate, there's always a cost. And you touched on this costing earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the question is, we're not just talking money here, right? What does it cost a man mentally, emotionally, and relationally to maintain an image that does not reflect his reality? What does it cost?
Ooh. I think it costs a price that not many of us can afford. I think if not tended to, it can leave you bankrupt, if you will, because I think it costs us, you talked about mentally, emotionally, and relationally. Emotionally fatigue, relationship breakdown, isolation, all of those things. I think it starts to hit what's going on the inside. It starts to just pour into everything around us. It costs us our sanity, right? It costs us our relationships, security, stability, all of those things. And if not, and sadly for some, it can cost you a good name. We talked about a good name. We talked about what did we talk about before? A man in his word. It could cost you just credibility.
And credibility, they say, is everything.
Mm.
It's everything, right? If you want to summarize what we're talking about, credibility, man, your integrity, your credibility. Yeah. So, and we talk about isolation, right?
Yeah.
We talk about disconnecting or disconnection. Those are the things that you're talking about. And have you ever been in a room full of people and you feel as if you're not seen, you're unseen?
Oh my gosh.
I have.
What? Yes. Too many times.
That is not a good feeling. But
No.
when you're, that's the cost of it as well, right?
Yeah.
When you're maintaining an image that does not reflect your reality, you end up in places where you probably don't even belong.
Yeah.
And so you're not seen, you're not recognized. Yeah. So, Dr. Juan, a man who cannot be known or seen will never be supported.
Ooh. God, you got to say that again.
A man who cannot be known or seen will never be supported. Your invisible man will never be supported. Let me toss out some more questions for our listeners, and then I want you to make a general comment. All right?
Okay.
Are you exhausted from maintaining an image? And this is a big one, Dr. Juan. Who truly knows you? What is the cost of continuing like this? I want you to comment on who truly knows you.
Whew. I think no one really knows you better than yourself, right? You and God, But here's the thing. This is what I found. Some years ago, of course, just being reflective and just doing a self-examination. I think it was pointed out to me that someone noticed that I only allow people at that point in life to go so far with me. It was like an invisible line I would draw. We get so close, and it's like, all right, now you've come close enough, And until they said that, I was like, wow. Like, and because people would always say, like, everyone knows of you, but who really knows? I remember someone asking me that, and I thought about it. I was like, I don't let, at this point in my life, at that time, I thought about, I said, I don't let too many people in. And that question just made me think about that. I think oftentimes asking that question really, it causes you to think about deeply, because for many of us, we protect ourselves. That mask becomes what a protective mechanism. And so if we're constantly masked, we don't take it off until we get alone. So to some degree, even in our closest family members, friends, significant others, whomever, they only get a portion or just a part. So who truly knows you other than you? And I would go as far to say that sometimes if we stay hidden, we hide ourselves from ourselves.
So that was going to be my response to you. What happens when you don't even know you?
Yeah.
No, that's the danger. That's the real danger. When you no longer, when you look in that mirror and you talk about who's that man in the mirror, and you don't even recognize that man. You don't even want to see. You turn your head away. You don't want to see that man in the mirror.
Yeah.
You don't even like the person in the mirror.
My God.
Because you don't recognize them. And that's what the mask will do. Yeah. So now the real question, they're all real questions, right? They're all real questions. But the question then is, where can men actually be real?
You know, sadly, and we talked about this earlier, just about having safe spaces and being aware of them. I think platforms like this, and I know that there are groups and settings and environments that are conducive for building that confidence and that security for men. I'm part of quite a few of them, so I know that there are settings and spaces that are safe. It's just being made aware of them. I think two things: one, knowing of these spaces, but then also two, being willing to go and participate or connect with these spaces.
So it's like we read a lot and we need more self-help books, right? So it's the same as knowing where these places exist, but are we willing to show up? Not just show, but do the work.
Do the work, yeah.
Willing to step into the space and say, I need help. Help me. That again is where the fear, and I'm losing my self-respect. I'm losing my authority. I can't be honest.
What does it look like when a man asks for help?
Yeah. That's a weak man, right? That's how society brand you as a weak man.
Yeah,
you're not a man. But I'm here to say that when you ask for help, there's a level of strength that you're displaying. If you need help, seek out someone, whatever you need to do, wherever you need to go, the right agency, the right friends, the right qualified people, and ask for help. First, you look in the mirror and say, I have a problem. I may not know exactly what is causing this problem, but I need to find out. I need to learn more. I need to make these discoveries. And if I can't do it by myself, I am going hunting. I'm going hunting. Because often fixing yourself requires accepting that something is wrong.
Ooh.
Yeah, something is wrong, right? So platforms and all those wonderful places, and we talk about taking this thing on the road, and that will be a platform available to men. We talk about building where we're having weekly conversations with men, and we're building it from 1, 2 to 3 to 4 to 10 to 20, and we're going to experience the multiplication process. We're going to grow the numbers because it is necessary. It's critical that we do this, that we take Bridging Generation Voices of Men on the road. So what we're doing here and having this conversation between us needs to be held more frequently with many more of us. So we must take the initiative. We must lead this effort. Yeah. Should I ask some more questions?
Please do. I mean, because you've these questions are, and you know this, that they provoke the necessary thought, the
All
reflective.
right. Reflective. And we'll call them listener reflection. That's
Okay.
you planted that in
Okay.
my
I like that.
head. Who can you speak to without performing? Mm. Do you have a real circle? And if you don't have a real circle, what would it take to build one?
That's a good. That one is a good one. They're all good. That one. What does it take to build one if you don't have one?
Mm.
Sheesh.
And when we say circle, make sure it is, and we say real, not that other circles are not real, but we're talking a circle that is going to bring healing, that's going to support and promote empowerment, that is upliftment. That's what we're talking about, right? Because this is bridging
Yeah.
generations of men in a
Absolutely.
world. We're not talking about a circle who's hanging out down the road, and for those exist. That's why we say we distinguish and the difference by saying real circle. We're talking about upliftment here. We're talking about bringing people on, building capacity, and driving change where change is
Yeah.
always necessary. Mm. All right, what you got for me, man?
Doc, we asking these questions. Let me ask this question to you. What does it look like for a man to live authentically while still maintaining strength and leadership? What does it look like?
You know, if you had asked me that question 5 years ago, as I probably wouldn't even attempt to answer it. And even though I believe I was always a grounded person, but since I founded this movement, the Collision with Purpose movement, I've grown along with the movement. I've become more informed, more aware. And why am I more aware is because I've been having more conversations like this one with people and with friends, with strangers. So I've been learning a lot. So it is important that you become more honest. Honesty is always the key. Honesty with yourself. And honesty, yes, but you must be very composed. You must be within who you are and not be afraid to say that I am not where I need to be.
Yeah.
I'm not where I need to be. But I'm willing and I want to improve and be better. No matter what my position is, who I'm leading, right? Who I'm leading, honesty with myself, with the people I'm leading, and those who are leading me. I must be honest. I think transparency is another critical, important thing. And that's about being honest as well. But discipline is another big piece. I must be very disciplined in whatever I'm doing in life. Whatever I'm doing in life, I must show a level of discipline. So if I say I'm going to do this, if I say I'm going to do something, I need to do my 100 to stay with that. And if I can't, I must be truthful and honest and go to those who I'm leading and let them know that I'm short. I'm short. How many leaders can tell the people they're leading, hey, I didn't get it right, but together we can fix what I couldn't do by myself.
Mm-hmm. Together. That's good.
And I think that is what authentic leadership is all about. Being you, being able to own your failures, being able to
Yeah.
own shortcomings, and say, hey, understanding that those are just, it's almost it's a survey that's been conducted that I
Yeah.
need to improve. I need to become better. It's
Mm.
it's not a wrap. It's not a done deal. That I know what I should know, because clearly I don't. But often men don't want to say yes. I don't know what I need, all that I need to know, and that to me is where they lose their authenticity while leading.
Mm. That's a great point. I think and to add to that, I think, and we touched on this a bit earlier about misaligned and being in alignment. I
Mhm.
think what you're talking about, it leadership, authentic leadership. I think being aligned with self
Mhm.
allows leaders to um, allow others in, allow their teammates or their followers or members or whomever to kind of join in. And I think it's called shared leadership and
Mhm.
shared mission. I think you're onto a great point that if you're misaligned, you're not going to allow that, because you talked about it. Pride starts to set in, like I missed a step, but I'm not going to admit that. So then there's no honesty. But I think authentic leadership is one that is aligned with
Mhm.
self, because they don't mind him or her. They don't mind
Mhm.
to allow them to see
Mhm.
through transparency and have those candid moments like, hey, I missed something. And someone can then step in and say, hey, but we got you.
You know, what greater joy than to lead a team of people who can outperform you? Hmm?
Woo!
Hmm?
That's
What greater
good.
joy?
Yeah.
You talk about performance and productivity. Man, you're in a great place. What an ecosystem to be a leader in.
Yeah.
Hmm? Yeah. So alignment is a big piece of what we're talking about here. And listener reflection. Where can you show up more honestly?
Mm.
That's a very interesting one, because
Yeah.
we're just afraid to open it up, right? And to talk about it. And what needs alignment in your life? And here it is, Dr. One. What changes if you stop performing? Let's talk a little bit about that one. What changes if you stop performing?
Ooh, a lot.
Mm,
I think we talked about this. We touched on it earlier about the tension that internal conflict causes.
mm,
I think if you stop performing, or once performance stops, I think what changes is that internal warring, that
mm,
internal conflict. Because you're closer, if not already, then are already not moving into alignment. You're no longer warring with identity, and image, because you're aligned with both, right? And so the image that is seen and that is being portrayed is aligned with who you really are. So there's no
mm,
conflict there. There's no tension. So when people connect, and you don't mind people connecting, you don't mind people actually seeing you in real time, in reality, right? And I think that's all the way around. It's just that whole piece when performance stops. It's
mm.
almost like having your second wind, or a fresh wind. You're able to breathe and take a breath and just relax.
Wow.
Like, whoo, just breathe.
You got me breathing the one of the man, solid stuff there. All right, so man, looking at the clock, that thing is moving.
Yeah, it
You know,
is.
again, you're watching Bridging Generations, Voices of Men. I am Dr. Laxley.
Here I am, your other host, Dr. Juan Marcel,
Yes,
and
and
we are talking about the masks that men wear.
wow, and trying to take it off tonight, or help you take it off, or to see the need to take it off. All right, at least.
Yes.
So Dr. One, let's go to our quick fire segment. All right,
Okay.
silence or expression?
Expression.
Mm, thumbs up. Pressure or peace?
Mm. Peace.
Mm. I go with peace too. Even though you grow under pressure, you grow
Yeah, you
through
do.
pressure. You
You
go
do.
through pressure, right?
And often under pressure is where you are allowed to find peace. That's the opportunity.
There you go. That's the opportunity. So discipline or motivation,
Discipline,
image or identity.
identity.
All right. So we got that out the way. All right.
I like that.
Big,
I like that.
big stuff. Big stuff. All right. So, Dr. Juan, if the image you present to the world was removed, would the man underneath still be strong, aligned, and at peace?
That's a powerful question, Doc.
That's a real.
Yeah, it's a real question because I think in that it removes the audience and it reveals the man.
Mhm.
You know, we're talking about that man in the mirror because at the end of the day, when and you ask this, when the image is stripped away, what remains is my truth, is the man's truth, right? Not my reputation, not my titles, not the people applauding. It's just me. And so I believe this. I believe the private man is the real man because what you are in private is what's truly unshakable. So if all of that disappears, I think we see a person at peace. We see a person in alignment. We see a person that has gained a sense of self, right?
Mhm.
And I think this. I think real strength isn't what you can display; it's what remains when there's nothing left
Mhm.
to prove.
Mhm. Mhm.
There's nothing
That's
left to
where
prove. You
that's
know.
where that's where it rests. So I'm going to bring this question home to me. If the image that I present to the world was removed, would the man underneath still be strong, aligned, and at peace? And again, I'm going to go back because I've lived my life in seasons. There was a
Mhm.
time, probably not too long ago, that I would say, no, it would not, that image, that person, me would not be strong, aligned, and at peace. Because I know that I've lived much of my life, probably most, performing like most people.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
think, to be honest. But I believe today, as we're having this conversation, I can say that I would still be strong, aligned, and at peace. And I credit that to the work that I've been doing for the past 3 4 years through this A Collision with Purpose movement and through the conversations, my observations with how other people are living, people are walking in their purpose, and what I've learned from them and how I have applied what I've learned from them. Because it's one thing to learn, but applying the information, taking that information from data, that knowledge from data to information is important because data is data, but then you have to
Yeah.
convert something that is usable.
Yeah.
That is usable. And I believe that this awareness, the conversations that I've been having, just overall experience, been a real teacher for me, giving me opportunities, exposed me to opportunities to just grow and become a better me. What about you?
No, I agree. I think that if removed, all of that would still remain. And to your point, what you mentioned earlier, just about the private work, right? And I would say that the work that I've and like same thing, just my life has been in phases and
Mhm.
seasons, and the work that I've been able to commit to over these decades, I think if the image was removed, I would still be strong, aligned, and at peace. And here's why:
Mhm.
because when I was battling those things in
Mhm.
private and some things in public, but when I was battling and having to figure out and all of these things, I had to find my strength.
Mhm.
I had to discover peace. and find alignment and find it within. So I believe that they would still be intact if it was removed.
And from observing you, I would concur with that. I would agree, because I've seen you gone through different things in life, and I've seen your growth as well. So all those challenges that you had in your life, as I've had, they were preparing us this moment for today.
Yeah.
I don't believe we could be having these conversations if we didn't have our experiences.
Yeah.
Those experiences informed us very well.
Absolutely.
And prepared us. So yeah, it worked out perfectly. I'll say. Yeah. Brought us here in a good place, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, so what a way to close down tonight's show and Bridging Generation Voices of Men. So Dr. Juan, as we close out, let me say my piece. And I want to say to you again, it's been nothing but sheer joy to be having these conversations with you on this platform. We both birthed this platform, the Bridging Generation Voices of Men. We talked about it earlier. I did one of my daily insights pitch, and you listened to it, and you said this needs to become more than a one-off talk. And here we are, the result. All right, so tonight, Dr. Juan, was not about removing strength, because we talk enough about that, and maybe someone watching and just jump in might walk away believing that we're talking about killing strength. Now, what we focused on tonight was about restoring alignment.
Yes.
Your image and your identity are reflective of the true you. You're not building putting out an image out there and building an identity that is contrary, that is misaligned with who you really are. That's what we're talking about. We talked about, and we have talked enough about performance. So we know, I know that real strength is not about just performance. It's about presence. It is clarity. It is living the honest truth, be who you are when no one is watching. And so, Dr. Juan, when a man becomes aligned, guess what? He no longer needs the mask. He can remove the mask. And that is all I'm going to say. I'm going to give it to you to do what only you can do. Close it.
Lord, I'll say this to our listeners. It may seem like it's easy to follow such a scholar. It's not always. This Doc is just so wise, but Doc, there's a quote that says, the strongest man is not the one who never breaks, but the one who no longer hides behind what's breaking him. And I also want to anchor this as we close. I want to anchor this in scripture. The Bible says in 2 Corinthians 12:9 that my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. So in plain terms, God is not asking you to perform strength. He's inviting you to live in truth, as we talked about in this show today. Because real strength isn't pretending you're good. It's being aligned enough to admit when you're not. So here's the challenge. Take a moment this week, men, our listeners, followers, take a moment this week and ask yourself, where am I performing instead of being real? And then take one step, just one, to remove the mask in a safe place. We talked about safe spaces. Take that step to remove the mask, but in a safe place, be it with a brother, with a mentor, or with God. Because the goal is not perfection, but alignment. And I'll leave you with that. The goal is not perfection, but it's alignment. As always, we thank you for tuning in. Remember to like, share, follow, and comment because we do read and we do respond. Until we talk again, same time, same place, here on Bridging Generations, Voices of Men, every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good one. We will see you next week.
This is not just a show. This is a shift. A reset of how men think, how men heal, and how men lead. Before behavior, there is belief. Before legacy, there is mindset. And before change reaches generations, it must first reach the mind. This is Bridging Generation. Yeah. We were raised on survival, not reflection. Taught strength, but not emotional protection. Passed down rules, never passed down tools. So we repeated cycles, thinking pain was the fuel. Different decades, same inner wars. Men grinding hard, but still unsure. We inherited limits, disguised as truth, and called them manhood, handed down to the youth. But growth don't start with doing more. It starts with thinking different than before. What if failure was feedback, not shame? What if growth was learned?